I am Allison Alexander. I am 39 years old and I live in Aspen, Colorado.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory TV and the Herstory podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand, and I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating businesswoman, entrepreneur, coach, coming to us all the way from the United States and Colorado. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our platform. Tell everybody your full name, exactly where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me. I am Allison Alexander. I am 39 years old and I live in Aspen, Colorado. 10 and a half years ago, I launched my first clothing line. It was a children's clothing line. And I started actually that company by selling some old clothes that I had for my daughter. And I used that money to kind of trade up. And without knowing anything about fashion or business, I launched that company about 10 and a half years ago. And then 6 years ago, I launched my second company, which is a fitness apparel company, which is still running now. And we are a global brand. Actually, I do have several customers in New Zealand and in Australia. So there are several in your neck of the woods who wear my
Wow.
clothing. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. So that's pretty, so I do that. And then professionally, I have been worked in education for the last 15 years. I've worked with nonprofits, doing educational consulting for government agencies, and also worked in libraries. And also worked in educational research. So I have a background of working with young children and their families, as well as being an entrepreneur. And last year, I launched a coaching business, and that was during COVID, several of my fellow apparel brand owners who were newer in the business started to reach out to me and asking me for suggestions and things like that. So I just started, it's like, why not help people? And so I launched my coaching business last year, and I've really been enjoying working with other fellow entrepreneurs who are starting to grow, either who are just starting their businesses or who are still in that kind of growing phase. So yeah,
What a
that's me.
fascinating career you've had. So, your inspiration was just to upgrade your children's clothing. And next thing you know, it led to something else. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs are very fearful of
Mm-hmm.
starting businesses.
Mm-hmm.
What was it that prompted you, that gave you that little sign that you were on the right track and you trusted it and you followed that trail?
Oh, that's such a good question. Actually, so when my daughter was born, my husband is a pilot, and I was having a lot of things custom made for her that were around aviation or were travel related that were kind of unique. And we would go out places and people would comment on them. And my husband said, you keep sending other people business. Maybe you, and they were all things that I had designed, but other people had created. So because my education is in library science, I'm naturally curious and I can always figure things out. So I just started doing some research on how to start a clothing line, and I did it. So there wasn't a lot of fear because I always say that curiosity is my superpower. And because curiosity is my superpower, there's nothing I can't figure out. When and curiosity also creates possibility. And as long as there's possibility, you can't fail. And so that there I had fear, obviously, but I decided to kind of walk along with it and just explore and make it a fun game. So,
So, along the journey, to
mhm.
get up to this point, what were the ups? What were the downs? What were the highlights and downfalls of your business career so far?
Such a good question. Um, in 2013, my business was going well, and I did the worst thing I think an entrepreneur can do. And I started to look at what other people were doing. And what I noticed was that several of people who I noticed had started businesses around the same time had opened brick and mortar stores. And so I thought, I will open a brick and mortar store. Everyone else has one. I will open one. I think we all have this dream. A lot of us have this dream of opening a boutique, and won't it be wonderful? I'll have, the lights and then everything will be beautiful. That was the opening a boutique was the biggest mistake of my entrepreneurial career. And it was a long year where I realized that when you're a digital entrepreneur, you can come and go as you please. You can do all the things. I quit my 9 to 5, which had tremendous flexibility, by the way, to go open this boutique and be chained to a register because I wasn't making enough money to hire a staff. At one point, the winter that I was open, I paid more money in snow removal for the parking lot than I made in sales in the store. So I was literally paying to park at a store that no one was coming to.
Oh,
So that was a real eye-opening moment for me, and a moment when I realized that in order to be successful as an entrepreneur, you truly have to look inward at what are your values and what's important to you. And so it was a very expensive, costly, exhausting experience, but I
man.
recovered.
Oh, wow. When I moved to New Zealand 21 years ago, I did exactly the same thing. My kids were little, and so I'm an artist. I hand paint fabric,
Mhm.
and I paint large 3-meter pieces of material. And I thought I'll just quit my day job as a systems analyst in IT. I'll open a shop, I'll sell my fabric. And I spent a year in a shop with no customers. And nobody would buy the large pieces because nobody sews in New Zealand. It was just a total disaster. And also because the population is so small, you don't make money with product in New Zealand. If you're a
Mhm.
service business, yes, you do.
Yeah.
And for 12 months, I sat in that shop not making a cent, but I
Yeah.
hit on my next $1 million idea when I closed the shop. I
Mhm.
went into the recruiting business for
Oh,
doctors. My ex-husband was a medical doctor. I
uh-huh.
just saw hundreds of vacancies, and when he was job hunting, I helped him. Reached out to friends in Africa and said, "Hey, do you want to come to New Zealand?" 5 friends came, and in the first 5 months of business, I made 125,000 in 3 months and never looked back. But you are
Yeah.
so right. And like now with COVID,
Mhm.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs needs to see the value of having an online business, right?
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
So you've been helping other entrepreneurs to pivot, to cope with the crisis. Give us 3 tips, 3 pieces of advice that somebody who has a brick and mortar shop can do to survive this pandemic.
Ooh. Well, if you have a brick and mortar, blessings to you right now, like absolutely. And what I would encourage you to do is look at what aspects of your business are going really well. Like, I always tell my clients that they should be looking for their strengths. What's going really well? How can we leverage that? How can we really instead of focusing, I think sometimes we have a tendency to over focus on the things that aren't going well. And if you have a brick and mortar store, you're probably noticing my foot traffic is down. That's not going well. But if you can really kind of figure out what is going well for you and leverage that strength, if you can get really clear on your values, again, like I think everything has to come from our values. What is most important to you, not only in your business, but in your life? Like for me, I realized being chained to that desk and in that boutique, freedom is very important to me. Flexibility is so important to me. So in any business model, you need to make sure that it's reflecting what your values are for the life you want to lead. And then thirdly, I think that if you have a brick and mortar store, explore what knowledge you have that you could share with someone else that you don't necessarily that they don't have to come in for. I was just talking with a woman the other day who is an auctioneer, and because auctions have not been going, there haven't been a lot of them, but she's been in fundraising for a long time. So now she's selling courses, teaching people how to fundraise. So if you have something that you know how to do, find that and then supplement your income if you are, attached to this brick and mortar that you have. Those would be my 3 things that I would suggest to anybody.
I absolutely love that. I think I've made more money teaching people to do what I do than to do what I do. And it's
Isn't
that
that funny?
transfer of knowledge, right? And
Uh-huh.
just understanding that there is enough to go around. The
Yes.
other person will never do what you do exactly the same.
Mhm.
Wonderful, wonderful advice.
Yeah.
So, if time was an illusion and your past, your present, your future existed in the same timeline, and you
Mhm.
could go back to the younger you when you started this business,
Mhm.
based on what life has taught you, what would you say to her as a piece of advice? Three things.
Ooh. Three things.
Mhm.
It's not as bad as it seems.
Okay.
Um, I would say that, in the moments when it's slow, when it's hard, or when it feels impossible, it's not as bad as it seems. Um, there's always an opportunity if you have an open mind.
Yes.
Um, and then thirdly, network. Like leverage every possible opportunity you have to both to cultivate community, to help other people along the way, because those things always come full circle. So I think as I've grown as an entrepreneur, my first business had a really strong community on it, and my current business has a very strong community. But I think that over the years, I've learned to leverage the community in different ways. And truly, I love giving back and helping. Some of the people that I first started in my coaching business was just me sharing free advice. Like, just like, if I have 5 or 10 minutes that I can give you if I can help someone in 5 or 10 minutes, I have 5 or 10 minutes. And that always comes back to you. So those are the three things that I think I would share with younger me that I've definitely leaned more into.
I absolutely love that. And that sense of community, they say that it's easier for you to sell to people you know and that you've dealt with before than to find new clients. So, again, it depends on how you're treating your clients. They
Yes.
can be repeat business, right?
Absolutely. It's so much less expensive also to find like I have customers who actually have been shopping with me since my first business and have continued to shop with me in my new business and who have become my coaching clients. So
Yeah.
that kind of longevity of relationship that comes from always showing up and being in service, because it always comes around, and it feels good. These people are, they're part of my community, they're part of my network, and that feels good to help them. And then they want to share what I do with other people, and that there's so much value in that.
I absolutely love that. Okay, so now I'm going to teleport you into the future. What is in the horizon for you, for your business? Where are you taking this? Again, in light with what's happening in the world with COVID and all of these changes.
Hmm. That's such a good question. You're wonderful at these questions. So in the future, my goals are I will write a book. That is on my list as a librarian, and I read about 65 to 80 books a year. So writing my own book is one of the things that I want to do. And I would like to be speaking more. I think that the last year during COVID, one of the things that I really did was reflect on my journey and what experiences I've had. And in sharing them with people, I find that it helps them find some excitement that they can do, that they can tap into to create whatever it is that they want for themselves. So I think that in the future, I am hoping to do some speaking so I can encourage people on a larger scale. Um, and I see my coaching business expanding as well, just truly helping, supporting women grow along this path. So in the future, those are my big goals.
That is absolutely wonderful. I'm going to include all of your contact links with this show. But thank you so much for showing up today and really reframing the way entrepreneurs should be thinking right now about business. It's going to be a
Thank
challenging time. We all have to find ways to survive this
you.
pandemic.
Mhm.
And if you are curious, like you said, things can be absolutely magical.
Yes.
So thank you, thank you, thank you so much for coming on the show. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. I told you we are having women from all over the world with a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of ideas, and we're all here to collaborate, support each other, and transfer our knowledge as well. So I really love the fact that you're going into coaching in a big way. There's a
Thank
lot of
you.
people who are needing support at this difficult time.
Thank you. It's my
Well,
pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
thank you. Thank you, everybody. I will be back again tomorrow with yet another fascinating lady from another part of the world. Have a good day wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thank you so much.